Hello. Oh, brilliant spark, I should say. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you are watching the replay, thank you so much. Today's going to be an exciting day. And I wanted to just let you know that wherever you are in the world, you are valued, you are appreciated, and you matter. Today is a great day because I believe anytime you can wake up in a vertical position, that's a good thing, right? Would you agree? I hope so. So listen, in a moment, I'm going to introduce our very special guest, and hopefully you are ready to take copious notes. She is wicked smart, as they would say in Boston. So just a smart person and a wonderful human being. So you'll meet her in a moment. So tell me real quick, post in the comment, and I want to give you just a few minutes to join us. But how are you doing? What's going on? Tell me where you're from and where you're joining us so we know everybody that's joining. Youssef, how are you? So glad you're here. I'm excited today because I have a daughter that will be 19 in just a few days. And I'm like, what? Where did the time go? Sarubi, how are you? So good to see you. Sarubi, tell Sandeep that I said hello. So a quick little story. Sarubi is the amazing wife of a friend of mine, Sandeep. 30 years ago, Sandeep and I were working in Atlanta, and he told me, he said, Simon, I'm going to propose to Sarubi. And I said, you are? That's awesome. And we celebrated. So 30 years later, here we are. So good to see you, friend. Hey, Elaine from New Jersey. Okay, another person says, my daughter is 19 as well. That's awesome. Algeria. So Youssef, you're in Algeria. Wow, awesome. So glad that you're with us. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about our guest and how we met, because everybody always wants to know like the backstory, right? Hey, Thomas, how are you? So good to see you, sir. So what's so amazing about Selena is both of us are LinkedIn Learning instructors. And the LinkedIn Learning instructor audience, it is really amazing human beings from all over the world. But you know how you meet someone in this virtual world that we're in now, and you just click, right? You just click. So all of a sudden, I was on her LinkedIn Live a few months ago, and she was so kind to kind of give me the crash course of this is how you think about it. This is why you do it. And I was like, oh my goodness. And think of Selena, who you'll meet in just a moment, as a really smart geek with a heart, like a really, really big heart, right? And so literally at least once a month for about the last 4 or 5 months, we connect virtually and just talk shop, trade notes to really help each other level up. I have learned so much from this woman, and I am so grateful that she just carves out just a little time to help little old me. I know she's cracking up backstage in the virtual stage saying, whatever. No, it's true. I am convinced relationships are the currency of the future, and the future is right now. So here's what I want you to know. 3 things about Selena. She is kind, she is smart, and she is practical. So you're going to hear some practical insight that I believe will benefit all of us. So Selena Rezvani, come on. I'm going to say, come on down. Come on down.
Hi, Simon, and welcome, everybody. Yes. It's so nice to be here with you.
Isn't this cool, right?
It's great. You know, I think of the world of you, so this is really awesome.
Thank you, my friend. Let's jump right in. First of all, inquiring minds want to know, what is a cultural disruptor? Because that's what you are. You're a cultural disruptor. Tell us.
Yes. So here's how I think about it. A culture disruptor to me is first and foremost what I call a PQA, okay? A perpetual question asker. Someone who's not afraid to say, Simon, why do we do it this way? Or why does our process exclude this group, and include this group, right? It's the opposite of do it this way because we've always done it this way. So that's a big piece of culture disruption, right? Asking the questions, challenging norms as standard practice. But it's also things like gathering feedback, quickly incorporating it. For me, that means with employees, gathering that input so their voice is never far away, and trying experiments. Disruption isn't always this grand, large-scale innovation. Sometimes it's little moves and moments. It's little changes that can nudge, a culture disruption along.
Wow. In all of the work that you do, especially with corporate America and global companies around the world, you are all about advancing professional women. What caused you and sparked you to focus on helping women level up?
Yes, Simon, it is true. My reason for being on this earth is to help women lead on their own terms. So, we have more women in top leadership. A lot of that comes from my own lifelong search for belonging. And I've been searching for that since I was a kid. I'm half Pakistani on my dad's side. On my mom's side, she's a Caucasian, Ukrainian American. And to be honest with you, I never felt fully like I fit into either one of those worlds, like I really belonged. And, fast forward to adulthood, I kind of brought that search for belonging with me. Here I was, a young management consultant advising C-level leaders on talent development, right? And I looked the exact opposite of them. Here I was, brown skin, young, 5'2". They all were the opposite. And I watered myself down, Simon. I got good at giving them the Diet Pepsi version of me, kind of mimicking their style. And I looked around and I saw other people doing that too. Other people struggling with that, not fitting into the norm of leadership. And I thought, this is a conversation I can facilitate, between women, people of color, too, people who want to bring their full selves to work, their full technicolor selves to work, and leaders who want to create that welcoming, inclusive environment so that they can bring that contribution. And that's what got me here, speaking to women, but also on the other side, working with those leaders.
Incredible. In your TEDx talk, and everybody, please check out her TEDx talk. Megan, I want to make sure we post in the chat the link to Selena's TEDx talk. It's phenomenal. You mentioned the research as to what happens in a young girl's life at 6 years of age. Could you share that with our audience?
Yes, it's the age at which girls stop describing themselves as brilliant and they start applying that word to males, right? We're not wired to do that. We are not, biologically, meant to make that verdict or decision at that age. And this is really a close to my heart issue. I have 8-year-old twins, boy-girl twins, by the way. So it's quite the petri dish at home, to test this. But it's true from a young age, right? We see gender bias and these strong ideas about how a woman, how a girl should act, often based on stereotypes, right? And that's what we know today when we look at gender bias, which is what that, TED Talk was about. It's rooted in stereotypes and what we do, how we react when someone acts out of stereotype, right? When they're maybe not conforming with how we think they should be.
Why do you think men interrupt women especially in the professional workplace every single day. Why is that? And how do women feel? And what are they thinking when they're interrupted by a man?
I love that question, Simon. That's a great question. I think there's a few reasons. I think we condition boys to take up space, to amplify their message, to speak up, right? Speak up and say your piece. I think with girls, in implicit and sometimes explicit ways, there can be a different message that's more loaded today, not quite as clear. And sometimes it can feel like defer to others, it's important, to tend to relationships, right? That we learn that as girls. Friendship is very important. Manage the relationship, sometimes at any cost. Don't damage it. Well, guess what? Standing up for yourself, speaking out, negotiating for more pay, leading as a CEO, you can't do all those things. You can't defer. You can't always be modest or helpful or shrink yourself. And I think some of it goes back to that childhood conditioning. Again, I think, we encourage boys to speak up and speak out, be brilliant. And I think with girls, we teach them to cue in and be attuned to the situation and the group more. So that's a big one. What can we do about it? Well, here's a truth bomb, Simon. It's just as important for we women to amplify women as it is for men, because we both, women and men, are more likely to interrupt women when they speak than men. So what can we do? We can put the spotlight back on the interrupted person. Hey, Anicia, I noticed you got cut off there. I'd love to hear the rest of your idea. Or, Karima, I think you had something more to say. We can put the spotlight back on. We can make a non-judgmental observation. Hey, folks, that's the 6th time Joan's been cut off. I'd like to hear the rest of her idea. You can set up meeting norms even, Simon. If you have serial interrupters, as I call them, where you kind of reset as a group, you come up with norms as a group about how you want to behave.
My goodness, you are dropping joy truth bombs all over the place. Tracy says, asking questions to learn about the culture, enabling cultural disruption to create a welcoming, inclusive environment. Anissa says, this is awesome. Don't shrink yourself. Love it. So, Selena, you are an entrepreneur, a executive, a mom. Are you an author? You have so many plates spinning. Take us to your backstory. How did you go from a management consultant to doing this amazing work globally?
Yes, well, I think like a lot of stories, it involves some doors slamming in your face and going down some wrong streets, right, and avenues. And that happened to me. I actually started my career in social work. I have a master's in social work, which is like a clinical counseling degree, if you're not familiar. And I tried so hard, Simon, to find a home there in that career. And I have the utmost respect for people who do it, but I could not. It was eating me alive on weekends. I was struggling, and I was kind of trying to origami myself into a person who could do this, and I couldn't. Well, I finally said to myself, I wish I could take these counseling consultative skills and apply them to business. That's my real dream. And I looked for roles. I thought, is that a real job? Is that a thing? And I looked, I couldn't find anything. One day, Simon, in total exasperation, I went to Craigslist. Yeah. And I looked on jobs, and there, lo and behold, was this amazing role working for the Great Place to Work Institute, the company that ranks the Fortune 100 best places to work in America list. And They had a dream job, and I applied to it, and I got it. And I loved management consulting, right? I got to help elevate the employee voice. It was amazing. And that was a really happy place for me. But I thought, you know what? I think I could be better at this if I spoke the language of these leaders I'm advising. I don't speak business, right? I only had my social work background and degree. So I got an MBA. And I'll tell you this real quick. There was one component of that MBA that was self-directed research. You got to run it and facilitate it. And I knew just what I wanted to do. I wanted to interview top C-level women leaders who had made it to the top. Who are these magical, unicorns? And what can I learn from them and pass down to other women who might want to move up? Only problem was I did not know a single one, and I had no connections to any either. I had one female professor at that MBA program, Lindsay Thompson, and she said, Selena, I'll approve your research to interview these C-level women on one condition. She said, you have to go after the whales. You have to go after the women who you think will say no and won't even entertain a second, of their time to be with you. And sure enough, thanks to her push, Simon, I did that. And I had 30 interviews with the likes of the CEO of the Washington Post, the president of the LA Dodgers, CEO at Charles Schwab. And it changed my life. And I thought, I'm not that unique. This could change other women's lives. And I pitched it to a publisher and I got a book deal and I quit my job the next day. And that is how I started on my own, focusing on, elevating more women to the top.
Oh my goodness, this is so good. So Elaine says, thank you for being relatable, so relatable. What did it do for your confidence? Two-part question. What did it do for your confidence when you did this project, number one? And number two, what would you say to someone who is saying, you know what, I'm stuck, I'm in a job that I'm not feeling. How do I get that quick confidence to believe in myself and go for it?
So it gave me tremendous confidence to reach out to these women who I didn't know from Adam, who generously gave their time to me and their hardest won lessons on top of that. One of the things I learned, Simon, was they are people. And we have this way of glorifying what everyone else is doing. They must have had a golden path. They must have been the top of their class. They must have this perfect life.
Wow.
And, they're people. They're people, and they were willing to talk about their journeys, thankfully. But the biggest lesson they taught me in those 30 hours, 30 women I interviewed for the first book, was many of them said, it's not that I am so exceptional or the number one financial expert in the world. It's that I am more tenacious than most. And that really stuck with me. They weren't afraid to go back 6 more times and say, how about now? How about now? Now am I a good candidate to be president? I mean, wow. For that person out there, that woman or man, anyone who's feeling stuck, stuck in their current situation, I would say, break it down. Break it down. You don't have to climb Mount Everest or solve an entire equation, but what is a little thing you could do right now? How could you shrink your goal to something you could take action on right now, today? Maybe instead of the massive goal, it's making the timeline for the goal. Maybe it's calling a friend and saying, I'm starting the project today, and here's what piece I'm going to tackle. I know accountability really can give things teeth, especially for me. What is that one thing you could start today? So you're kind of making this, necklace full of little accomplishments. For me, that really helps motivate me to go further than, say, trying to do that gargantuan single task.
Wow, this is so good. Brian says, it's all about the small bites. Absolutely love that. You are inspiring people today. Melanie says, how great it was for you to challenge yourself to be the best and go after bigger fish. So folks, I know you are loving this. You're chomping at the bit. I want you to post questions. If you have questions for Selena, But I've got a question, and go ahead and post in the chat, and I'll make sure we ask Selena your question. Here's the thing I really, really want to know. What are you sharing with businesses and organizations that are sparking their restart? What is that critical advice that you are whispering into their ears to consider?
Yeah, there's a few things, and one of them is don't create the solutions on your own. Really co-create them with the people who are affected. I know that might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised that sometimes that's not happening. So, if you're trying to make your workplace more gender inclusive, be talking to women at different levels, not just the senior ones, but junior women on the factory floor, right? You want to really co-create the solutions you're coming up with. That's an important one. Another one is to ask yourself what your particular why is, because that's going to make your inclusion efforts or your women in leadership efforts really sing, and it's going to make them stick, right? More than just some standalone thing. People aren't sure why you're doing it. How does this really map back to your unique why as an organization? And I would say, do the brave work of keeping your ear to the ground. So much of the work I do is focus groups with women, where I'm reporting back the unvarnished findings to leaders. And it takes a strong stomach sometimes, to hear some of what I'm reporting back. But it's keeping that temperature check. You're not burying your head in the sand. You're listening. You're incorporating constantly.
Awesome. Elaine has a question. What has been your biggest challenge to date?
Elaine, how long do you have? No, I'm kidding. But no, I would say, myself. One of my greatest challenges has been doing away with the kind of what I call like self-trash talk and trading up for like an empowering, supportive coach. And it has made the biggest difference in my life. You can do all the external presence things to come across this way or that way. But if what's up here is like pollution and garbage and weighing you down, like you're not going to get far. So in a nutshell, it's overestimating what everyone else can do and underestimating what I could do. That's been my biggest challenge to date.
Wow. Biggest takeaway, overcome the self-trash talk, trade up by finding someone that will coach you. So good. Tracy wants to know, what was the toughest conversation that you had with the whales and how did you handle it?
Oh man. I was so young and naive and new to that process, a total newbie at interviewing. It's not like I was a journalist or something before that. So I think I felt challenged in each of those to be present, and if they made a really interesting answer, which many of them did, to ask an interesting follow-up or probe that deeper. I think it was just getting up the gumption in those conversations to really show all the way up as myself, as that hungry young woman, excited for these answers. There wasn't one where one of these women kind of challenged me or pushed me. What I'll say is this, by the way, for anyone who might want to do something similar, or it sparks inspiration of some kind in your life, the people who ask the most clarifying questions about being interviewed didn't end up becoming interviews. And I thought that was really interesting. The people who initially felt, wow, this resonates, they often said yes in a matter of like a day or moments. It was a quick yes. So it's interesting. That's just a finding I'll share to Tracy and anyone else. Those who would say, and what's this for? And tell me more, and why are you going to use it, right? Those people didn't end up signing on. But those who did, it matched something in them. It struck a chord with them in some way.
So the ability to take decisive action is critical. Okay, before we go to our last question, real quick, Tell us the name of your books, how we can get your books, and how people can follow you.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. So, my most recent book is called Pushback, and it's all about having the confidence to ask for what you want. That also includes dozens of interviews with C-level women leaders. And my first book, the one I was referencing, is called The Next Generation of Women Leaders. And it's really that career guidebook, to help you launch as a leader. You can find me at selenarezvani.com, and you'll see all kinds of information there about my LinkedIn learning courses, speaking, and consulting. If you go to selenarezvani.com/sign up, one free goodie you'll get right away is 24 power phrases to up your authority. So I hope you'll check that out and try those phrases out too.
Awesome. We've got her website posted. And I want all of you to go follow her. She is smart and a good person. I'm telling you, every month that we talk at least every 30 days. I always walk away with something. All right. I said last question, 2 questions. And this second last question is, those of us in the US are very fortunate that there are laws to help protect women and help us to have a seat at the table. Thank you, Melanie, for this question. What advice do you have for women in countries that have not made the same strides in gender equality?
Yeah. Wow, Melanie, that's a great question. And we certainly have some advantages, right, that not everybody can enjoy yet. And I would say build those coalitions. Build those coalitions. That often means including, guess who? Men. Right, in this effort, bringing them into the fold to be advocates with us, not just doing this in isolation. So I think finding those natural advocates who are male and, getting them to play a visible vocal role, doing little local experiments, small things. Small scale things. Maybe it's not, changing all benefits to be more women friendly. It might be a small thing. We're going to do a trial of one specific benefit. And then collecting data, showing people how it's made a difference, how it maybe makes women more likely to stay at the organization, that benefit is in place, right? So shrinking those goals to do those little local experiments and do the coalition building.
Wow. This last question is from Anissa, and I think it really applies to everyone. How do I get started after interviewing for so many roles and knowing that I have so much to offer? What advice would you coach or give to her?
Yeah, I would say, Anisia, the process of interviewing can be such a rigmarole for your confidence. I think we all know that who've been there, right? You can be flying high one moment, that went so well. And the next moment just feel like, oh, nobody's calling, no one's emailing, crickets, what's the matter with me? So I just want to appreciate anyone who's in that situation. It's vulnerable, it's tough. I would say, you really want to figure out your special sauce and what makes you different, especially if you are in a field where, having an MBA or being an engineer or having 5 years of marketing is like the cost of entry. If everyone else is competing against you and has that, that's just your meal ticket to get in the door. What about you is special and unique or rare? Maybe it's a hybrid of things that overlap for you. That's a little unusual. The deep contacts you have, or the efficiencies you've created, or the interesting credential you have mixed with another credential, right? Maybe that's your secret special sauce. Amplify that. Play it up. Don't discount what you bring, because I guarantee you are an expert in something, So what is that? And how can you kind of lead with that so you're memorable? They can't help but remember you.
Wow. Everybody give it up for Selena. Let's show her some virtual love in the chat. Oh my goodness, Selena, this was so good. And we're going to put your website up again. Everyone, please go to her website. Make sure you put /sign up so you can get those empowering phrases. Sylvia said, good points. I saw someone else, Elaine. I think Elaine is your new biggest fan. She broke down the meaning of your name.
Oh, I love that.
Or what your name should be.
I love that.
Thank you so much. Let's see. Daryl said, excellence. That's right. Us men, we are learning. Hello.
Yeah.
I made some mental notes of some things I need to work on. So thank you for always constantly challenging us. And here at Spark You, we just want to let Selena, you know that we so appreciate your time. We celebrate your wisdom, and we are forever grateful in you imparting into us the treasure of your knowledge so that we can become better human beings. So we are better because of you. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for this experience. I want you to do a couple of things. Follow Selena on LinkedIn, okay? Second thing I want you to do, what was your biggest takeaway? And within the next hour, I want you to text, call, or email someone and say, what? I just heard Selena. This is what Sister Friend had to say.
I love that. Yes.
Okay. Selena, thank you so much. Take care, friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone.